5 days in a row. What the fuck is going on? Alright, so earlier on today I found some really fucking nice documentation on I think it's medical documentation for opticians on eyes. So I kind of want to continue to ride the momentum we've got and implement some of that. So what I want to show first is the actual thing I've found, which is this. I'm gonna copy that into the comments so you can see it there. This is an amazingly helpful image that gives a surprising amount of really helpful data. So basically I just kind of want to get the eyeball matching this, at least to some extent. I'm not going to change the size of the eyeball overall, so I may have to convert some of this stuff, but in terms of structure of the eye and that sort of stuff, it really teaches me a lot. I don't know if it's drawn to scale, but this can help me make mine a lot more physically correct. So I'm going to have this up on the other screen, and I'm just going to slowly walk through my asset and kind of build it up to this. Not really much else to talk about. I can quickly show where we're up to. In terms of the latest render, we are at this is where we got to last night, and I did do a super quick render last night. Just a little bit closer up. The eye's feeling a bit noisy to me. I need to find out why that's feeling like that. It just feels a bit too contrasty. Maybe subsurface will get rid of a lot of that. But yeah, so overall it's feeling like it's an okay size. Maybe the pupil's too small. I do feel like the that kind of inside structure of the eye is too large, because if we get the reference up, let me just close a few of these. That's all good. So if I load up the most recent, so relative to the size of the iris, this kind of middle section where it's a lot more fibrous is about a half, maybe a third of the total size, whereas mine's close to a half or larger. So I need to kind of shrink that down a bit. Hey G1, how you doing? But yeah, so I plan on fixing that. The pupil size is a bit too small in mine as well, so we'll fix that. But the first thing I want to do is kind of get the structure from this thing, because this is such an amazingly helpful reference. So let me just move everything over on the other screen. Put that there. Get that there. So, luckily, since all of this is instanced, I can just work on the central eye that's down here. Oh, there it is. I can just work on this, and then we'll copy everything over later. But yeah, so let's get on with it. I'm going to hide these guys. And there's a few things we need to do. Obviously, modeling wise is a fair bit. So through looking at this, I don't know if it's to scale or not, but it's definitely a much more smooth arch. And I feel like this is too sharp of a blend. So I'm going to correct that. And I feel like maybe mine's too, might need to be a little bit pointier, but we'll come to that later. So let's start off by deleting some edge loops. I feel like if we, let me just insert a loop in the middle here, and then delete these two, because I can insert edge loops without affecting the UVs too much. So if we were to now just grab this and round it out like that, and then let's just edit edge flow in this guy, and then let's see what he does. I think that's fine. So there's our first thing sorted. Next thing is, oh, hey Cozy, how you doing? Next thing, obviously we need to get the thickness of it, but my ramp to actually drive the opacity is way too large, I think. So I need to pull this back, which may mean that the cornea itself is too large, but we'll see about that. So let's get into where is it? Oh yeah, transmission, there we go. So let me just lock that. And I think our pupil needs to come forward a little bit as well, actually. So, oh, not pupil, iris, sorry. That's not ideal. How much can we get away with scaling this guy? Where is it? Shading. Oh, show. Selection highlighting. There we go. So I feel like we're going to have to shrink wrap some of this back. But we just want that to be a little bit closer, so that less light is kind of squeezing around it. So I think that's a lot better. It also fixes the scale of this middle bit for us a bit. That does mean, however, that now we will want to do inflate that, just so it's sitting a little bit closer. That's not the fall off I want though. Is linear going to be the way to do this? I think linear is probably the way to go. And you need to go there we go. That's feeling a bit better. So let's get back to this and just slowly step this back. That's a bit better. Just going to close Pierrot. Actually, it's taking up a bit of screen real estate I want to keep. Maybe we should get a third screen at some point. So, exponential down. Let's check exponential up. I don't think that will work too well. Oh, bump might work. Bump has a very soft blend. That looks like it's working. Right, so measurements. Let's actually drag that back just a tiny bit. There we go. So, measurement time. Let's create a sphere. And this sphere, so this says from the front surface of the cornea to the retina is 24 millimeters, but this is an elongated shape. So let's just see what 24 mil looks like. We'll see if it's way too big or not. Let's go. I feel like this iris might be too small in general, like the actual shape itself. In fact, yeah, that's too small, isn't it? Okay, we can get back to that in a moment. Let's go with, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, need to scale that up. So what size is this? 1.4. So that's 1 centimeter, so that's 14 millimeters. So oh wait, does it have a radius of 1? Oh, it does. So that'd be like 2.8, right? That means this is actually too big. Let me set play sphere radius. That'd be 1.2. So that's the correct size of the eye. So I'm way off with the size of this thing. That's the correct eye size, apparently. How big is that, though? Did they actually adjust in size? No, that's not adjusting. So point. Yeah, okay. So that's the correct size of the eye, apparently. .815. Oh, not small enough yet. Yeah, that iris is too small, isn't it? That feels too small now. Because you're supposed to be able to fit one eyeball between. So is the head just too big? Scale-wise, that's correct relative to his actual head size. So the entire thing needs to be scaled. My entire project needs to be scaled down. Okay, well, I guess we're doing that now. Let's grab my template. So 815. .815. Let me find out the size of the average human head. Average male head dimensions. I don't care about inches. How do I find out? The size of the average human head. Six to 7 inches. So what's 6 inches in centimeters? 15 centimeters. So if we make a cube, scale it by 15. So that should be the width of his head, which it clearly isn't. What if we set this back to 1? Now it is. One of these measurements is lying. Unless I just have his eyes like way too big. Okay, we'll leave that group alone for now. Let's set you back to a scale of... oh wait, we should keep that as it is for a little bit. Okay. Just so that all the other measurements are correct relative to it. So, next measurement to get is, it says the radius of the outside of the cornea is 7.25 millimeters. So if I create a sphere again, let's just delete that one. Create a sphere. And this one should have a radius of 0.7259. And that should be the size of the outside of the cornea, which it is actually. Oh, slightly off. But that's easy enough to fix. So let's go. We're just going to line that up. There we go. So that now matches the ideal cornea. And then the radius of the inside, so that's where it starts to get interesting, because obviously it has a thickness, which I've never modeled before, but I'm going to give it a go on this project. So the radius of the back side of the cornea is 5.585, which is this, so it gets thicker towards the bottom and the middle. So if I outer cornea radius. Okay, so we're going to duplicate that and call it inner. Cool. And then, okay, we'll ignore the names because I need to keep this. So that needs to be set to 5585. And that's the scale of the inside of the cornea. And another measurement is that the cornea, where was it? Cornea thickness is 0.449 millimeters. So let's create a cube. This is 1 centimeter. So a tenth of that. So 0.1 would be 1 millimeter. So we want 0.0449 in width. And let's just copy that to the other ones. Okay, so that should be the thickness of a cornea, which is pretty much where that is. So let's just grab that inner. So that should be the thickness of the two. That's really thick, actually. I didn't expect that at all. And obviously the iris needs to fit inside that. So this iris needs to be way further back. But yeah, so I need to give the cornea thickness. So let's just go in. We got this cornea. I'm going to duplicate that and call this cornea inner. I'm going to duplicate that later, but for now, let's just scale it down. And actually, I'm going to grab these two. Okay, and we want those to match up. So how can I do that? What's the easiest way to do that? Let's set you as a live object. No. I need to turn selection highlighting back on. There we go. So that's that matched up. So that's the inner cornea lined up. So then that that can be deleted now too. So we've got the cornea and the inside of the cornea. That feels wrong to me. It feels way too thick. I mean, I'm gonna trust it because it's literal science, but some random guy, hey mate, good to finally be able to catch you on the live stream. Ah, glad to hear, man. Are you in a different time zone or something, or? Okay, so there's that. We can delete that little cube because that cube just tells us the thickness of our cornea. So I'm going to grab both of these and combine them. In fact, not yet. I'm going to duplicate you. Eye fluid. Geo. No idea what the fluid's called, but I'll find that out later. So now let's combine these two. Combine. I'm so shocked by the thickness of this thing. Cool, so let's isolate that for a moment. Edge flow. Cool, so we need to invert the normals of the inside mesh. So let's go mesh display reverse. So that's now lit. So that means it would now shade correctly because it's the same both inside and outside. They should have matching UVs. So if I press 6, it's still transparent. We do have now the issue of this double mesh thing going on, but I think once we add subsurface, that will naturally fix itself. If not, I've got some serious thinking to do. Because I don't know how I'd handle that. I could do a volume potentially, but I don't know how that will work, to be honest. So, yeah, different time zone. I need to figure out notifications on this thing. Oh well, yeah, welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. I'm still so surprised at the fucking size of that shit. Like, that's crazy. That definitely feels wrong though. Like, that iris surely should be further forward. I'm gonna trust my gut and bring that further forward. Oh, that's gonna be a bitch now, isn't it? Okay, do I put all of the UVs for this inner side on, oh god, that gets tricky. I can't just keep bringing the iris forward. But that is apparently the thickness. So how does this work? Because that doesn't feel right at all. I'm being that far back. Unless what I need to do is just scale it more. Let me try scaling it from the frontmost vertex. That one will do. I can always bring that diagram in to see what it does. Maybe test render Core 6 makes a difference. Yeah, it's just, I'm just really worried about this inside mesh. Like, how is that going to interact? Because the next thing for me to do is add the actual fluid inside the eye, but I can't do that until I've got the inside wall of the cornea sorted. That line's going to show up really strong, isn't it? Let's do a test render, as you say. Refraction might make a solid difference. Yeah, there's something weird going on there. I guess I need to put the entirety of the inside mesh into the refraction, right? So let's get that cornea. Oh, we need to delete the history on you. Oh, that's caps lock. Why is that deleting the history? Edit, delete all by type. Oh. No. Weird. So let's just quickly grab that inside mesh and put its UVs entirely within that. I need to smooth this geo as well. Obviously we haven't even started on the actual reflection yet, but so we're not going to have correct refractions right now because we don't have the fluid inside the eye anymore. But we are getting that funky double reflection thing. I'll try adding the fluid on the inside. So to get the fluid on the inside, what I'm going to do is just duplicate this guy. Oh wait, we've already got fluid. 4. Where are you? Okay, let's just grab that. Duplicate you. And let's just grab only the inside. Cool. And then we want that to be slightly inflated, so there's a crossover between the meshes. And then we also need to flip the normals on that, right? Yeah. So let's go, let's just quickly edit edge flow that while we're at it. Cool. Mesh display, set to face, mesh display reverse, and then mesh display soften edge. Cool. Cool. And then this needs to have a new material. Assign new material, shader, standard surface. We're just going to call this eye fluid matte. And then all we're going to do is turn off base color in its entirety, turn off specular for now, we can add it back in later. Transmission, I want it to be all the way at 1, and then I need to change the refractive index, because it never says that n equals refractive index, or at least I don't think it does, I haven't seen it. But 1.336, that's pretty much exactly water, the cornea is water based, it's slightly higher. So I imagine that these are the refractive index, and it says refractive index of 1 is air, which is actually incorrect, but we'll ignore that. Air is like 1.0001, hence why the sky is blue. So let's just grab that, and so that was 336, 1.336. I need to find out what priorities I need to give these guys. Where's, oh yeah, because it goes up here, doesn't it? 336, and then the cornea needs to be 337, right? So now, oh, I also need to turn on caustics for that. Where are you? Oh yeah, looking in the wrong place. So, next thing. So in theory, that's not a physically correct eye. I really want to fix the reflections. That's not correct. We're seeing behind the eye there. I feel like my reflection strength needs to go down on that, right? Can I increase the roughness too? Oh, it is on progressive. So let's set the roughness slightly higher. I'm also going to decrease the actual weight of the reflection. I should probably add subsurface. That was 579, right? If I remember correctly from yesterday. Let's check the base color actually. 579, cool. So let's check we got some surface samples, we do. I'm going to decrease a few of these. And then radius is going to need to go down. Let's just go to 0.1 for now. Oh, I've missed a bunch of messages. Will feel much more natural with scattering. The border won't be as harsh. And yes, the ends are refractive indices. I imagine I would average it. If I want to go simple. Extreme glancing angles, you're going to get a lot of Fresnel, so that definitely affects it. Oh yeah, for sure. I think what I was getting the dark lines from wasn't quite Fresnel. But I'd have to, read into it, find out what's going on. So obviously we've not got the actual colours anymore, or on the eyes even. Pupil's too small. I need to increase the size of that a little bit. We seem to be getting a nice caustic effect down here. Well, that might be subsurface, to be honest. And then I guess while we're at it, let's add subsurface to the eye. The iris even. Let's set up 0.1 and then walk v2. Color 579 again. And then we're going to add a little bit of diffuse. So let's set weight to 0.6, and then I'll do the same for the cornea. Just so we do have some diffuse. You don't want something to be entirely subsurface. So obviously we're going to lose a shit ton of sculpting detail from the iris as we add subsurface. I do need to rework the sculpt a little bit, especially now I've changed the sizes slightly. I need to change the size of the pupil. I also need to roll the pupil a bit more, I think. Because it feels too sharp, but it needs a bit more of a fall off. Also need to add bump to the outside of the... I need to add bump to the sclera. So that's the wrong thing. Is there anything I forgot? Oh, I need to change the shape of the lens, but technically the lens I don't need to change because I'm just giving it a flat black shader. I don't intend on trying to get like red eye or anything, so I don't need to do that physically accurate. Although this bend of the iris is quite interesting. I should probably add that into the model. Mask by cavity and blur, push out all the details a bit. Yeah, I mean, I've never really been too keen on masking by cavity, but like, I always like to sculpt things by hand. I know it's not the quickest way. There's a lot of stuff I like to do that's not the quick way. I like to do stuff just by, you know, fucking about really. But the personal projects, I never do the production correct ways. That reflection's a bit too rough, so let's we will want to change the strength of the reflection based on if it's cornea or sclera at some point, but does this not feel a bit flat? Oh, that feels round enough, so I guess I shouldn't really. That would be cool. I feel like I'm out of sync with what you're responding to. What is it you're saying would be cool? Random guy? Does your personal self need to go with the curious bit? I get it. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I just, on personal work, I like to fuck about with techniques that I haven't really tried. Like I was talking in a stream not too long ago about using like wrap for retopology. It's like, I know that it's by far the best way for production, especially if you've got a ton of meshes. But for me, it's like a personal work thing. I don't really like using wrap just because I feel like I don't know enough about retopology yet to warrant using wrap. So that's kind of like, you know, I tend to avoid that sort of stuff. Getting the red eye effect would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not sure how you fucking do it. Let me let's at least model a physically correct shape for the lens. So it needs to be a lot rounder, that's for sure. Oh, we should oh wait, it's huge, holy shit. It's like almost as big as the cornea. One thing that was really interesting that I didn't know until I read this. So, like, obviously the lens, you know, it's not symmetrical, that's to be expected. But what I didn't realize is how it deforms based on how you're focusing your, like, I know this is completely obvious, but it just never clicked in my head. So at the bottom, it shows how it works when you're focusing on stuff. So when you focus on something that's close up, like it says here, the back apparently gets pulled out a lot more. Whereas when your eyes relax, it's a lot flatter, which is really, really cool. Like, really fucking cool. I kind of love that. So, naturally, I'm not really, you know, I'm not going to go to that level of detail, but, you know, still, it's a cool thing. I want to add more depth to the iris, so let's just quickly do that. So, there we go, it's got a bit of a smoother fall off now. And then let's just, I want to make the iris a little bit bigger. Oh, the pupil, sorry. It feels a lot nicer. Alt save. I should probably update the UVs of the iris now though, because that's quite a large change. So I'm going to stream until that's 6, so that still gives me like an hour and 15 minutes. So I should probably go back into eye sculpting. I will need to add some noise to the outside. So let's do a little bit more work in the cornea. Let's actually shape the thing. So I'm just going to go... The way I like to work with this sort of stuff is I like to have the double panel window, and then to set one of them to the hypershade. And then what that allows me to do is just super quickly, like if I want to go to my viewport, move the camera, I can just space in there. If I want to go back to my hypershade, just tap space over here, and then I've got all the screen space I need. So let's just grab you. I need to name that shader group. We're going to be picked up at 7:30. Oh, sick. So let's call this ramp cornea ISO, and then P2D. I'm gonna try to keep on top of naming for this project. So that's an isolation for the cornea. So now let's create a displacement shader. And put that in there. We want to make an AI noise. And we want to multiply this. So this noise is going to be like a generic kind of noise on the surface. And we want to multiply this by a remap. So let's go set range, get the value. So the reason I'm putting set range is because I know that the cornea in this map is 1 and the sclera is black, or 1 and 0, or white and black, whatever. So I can remap this. So old min, old max, well that needs to be 1 at all times. So keep those as they are. But now I can say, okay, well max is what the cornea will be. So I can set that to like 0.2. And I'm just going to use the red channel. And then I can set the min to be what I want the sclera to get, so let's set that to 1. So put that into displacement. And then let's just, can I preview that? Nah, it doesn't preview, that's a shame. Unless it does, and it's just way too, no, it doesn't, okay. So I'm just going to save that. And let's go into the old render view. Just alt save my scene. That's obviously going to be massive. That's to be somewhat expected. So I just want to make this a nice bumpy noise. Technically a fractal would be better. But let's just stay on top of this for now. So let's set color 2. Come on. Oh, we also need to do set range. Old min, old max. And then need to do -1, -1, -1, and 1, tab 1, tab 1. That makes it displace inwards and outwards equally. Oh, and also explode. Nice. Oh, because that needs to be set to 1 now, doesn't it? Okay. So let's just create another multiply. And that one's the strength. So let's replace that with cell noise. And let's isolate that. Don't need to plug you into a shader attribute. Let's plug that into, I normally like to use emission, because emission has a control to turn it on and off anyway. So let's just go octaves. So that's a regular noise. Let's go woolly. Woolly might look a bit strange. Cell is obviously gonna look really weird. Noise 2. Cool. We want to keep that as it is. I don't know what density does. So that's is it 10? Do I need to go bigger? Yeah, I do. That's probably too big, but let's give it a go. I feel like we should remove a couple octaves. It's a bit too noisy. Let's go to 4 octaves. And obviously this will be stacked with an actual sculpted or painted noise. And I'll probably reduce the strength of it on the actual cornea. But it's helpful to have some displacement on the cornea. It just makes things feel more organic. It's not necessarily correct. You'd have pretty shitty vision if you had distorted corneas. Like not just warped, but actually like noisy. Like that would be a fucking nightmare. But you know, it's something that we can play about with. Let's just check that bit. Okay, so it's still too much for my. Let's half that. So it's starting to get a bit too smooth again now, but let's let that smooth out for a moment. It does need to be subtle though, because again, we'll be adding like veins and stuff on top. What debug shaders do we have? So I just want to see reflection, like only reflection. Like I know we can use an AOV, but that doesn't speed up rendering. I could obviously remove subsurface, but it's helpful to have that information. I think that's good enough. We have something. As well as slower renders, which is always nice. Looks like it's starting to hit the right amount of smoothness, so let's just get iris in there. A mask for that would be awesome, more flexible for playing with the noise. A mask for what, the cornea? Or a mask for something else, because I've already got a mask for the cornea. I'm using this this here. I can, you know, set max to be 0, and that would basically switch off displacement for the cornea. Looks like it's working for me though. So next thing I want to do is I want to take this. I'm going to create another set range. I'm just going to name these after as well. So my reflection, my roughness, I want to change. I'll add a coat later on, but specular roughness is 0.05. So let's set max to 0.05 and old max to 1. Oh, 0.05. Cool, and then we want the roughness to be a little bit higher everywhere else, so let's go like 0.2. So Scalera is going to get 0.2. And then we'll plug that into the roughness. Where are you? Specular roughness. So what that now does is, if I isolate this guy. So if you guys don't really know what it's doing, basically, oh, I should quickly update that. So basically, I'm taking a map, a ramp that looks like this, and basically this goes from 1. Let's turn off color management. It goes from 1 to black. So 1 to 0. That should be set to there. And so what that allows me to do is remap it. So I know that a value of 1 is on the sclera, on the cornea, and I know a value of 0 is on the sclera. So I can take those values and remap them however I want. So this one's going to be for specular roughness. This one is used to drive displacement strength. Does SSS really enhance realism of eyes? Yes. Eyes are squishy, they are fleshy, they are full of fluid, they are very subsurfacey objects. But yeah, you can see subsurface has a really cool way of showing up around the iris. Let me just find an image. Eye macro. Subsurface has a really cool way of showing up on the eyes. My favorite way, I'm going to see if I can find an image that's particularly good at it. Let's see. You can say that this is subsurface to an extent, because this is where we get into sclera and you get this kind of like really nice soft glow. So you get an acoustic that's hitting the iris on the inside, and then it's scattering through the back of the sclera, which is really, really cool. I think that's beautiful. I think this is a similar effect. You get an acoustic hitting the iris, and then it's bouncing up and hitting the back of the sclera, and again giving you that little subsurfacey glow. It's mainly there where you see it, to be honest. Mainly on that inside. I don't think that's subsurface. Well, it's obviously part subsurface, but I don't think that's entirely subsurface. But yeah, it's a really beautiful effect, I think. So subsurface is very helpful for eyes, at least in my opinion. I'm not well, I was about to say I'm not a professional look developer, but actually I am. I have been for a while now. I just always forget I'm a look developer sometimes. But yeah, so I'm going to kill that render and quickly name. So set range, cornea, roughness. Set range. In fact, let's shorten that to range. Range, disp, noise. No, let's go disp, noise. I guess that works. Multiply, divide, mult, disp, ISO, mult, disp, strength. It's partial scattering of fluid in there, and there's some bounces in our eyes. Really awesome effect. Oh yeah, for sure. Light transport is awesome, absolutely. I can delete that. So we got a basic cornea. Let's just render. And I want to add a clear coat on top for the tears on the sclera. Because now I've added roughness to make it feel a bit more fleshy. So now we need a clear coat. So let's create another set range. And all I'm going to do with this one is put that into value. I'm going to keep max at 0 because I don't want really any of the clear coat on the iris. It's already very reflective. And then let's plug this into coat. Plug it into, let's go with plugging it into color. And then I can slowly increase the weight. Actually, I will set that to be 0.1. And let's just put that up to 0. Well, let's set it to 1, see how crazy it looks. Oh, clear coat doesn't combine well with transmission. There's a way to get rid of that though, isn't there? Advanced. Is it thickness? Where is it on this? Why if we turn it off altogether? Okay, no, it doesn't know how to combine coat and transmission. That's just going to darken that. Okay, so how can I get around that? Okay, just type it. Maybe if I plug it into weight instead. Take that out of color. Okay, so that's having no effect now, which is cool. Definitely need to step down the weight though, because I can't decrease that now. So set you to 0.1, 0.2 maybe. I just want like the brightest highlights to show up, and then even though it doesn't have an effect, I like to have all these the same. There we go, basic eye shader. Range, cornea, water, surface water. I'm going to decrease that again. It's too bright down here. Don't want any anisotropy on it. Oh, that's gone too low again. Wonder what the anisotropy of eye subsurface is. So that's working well enough for me. Obviously we need colours and stuff, and we still need to continue sculpting the iris itself. But that's working for me. We start to get a little bit of that backscatter. I feel like if I was to shine a really powerful spotlight in the back of this, we'd start to get a bit of a glow here. And we're getting that natural shadowing there. How's the detailing holding up? Yeah, so I think we should now go back into ZBrush and do some iris sculpting, right? Make this look a bit better. So I think scale-wise it's working. So, we have an eye. Let's just check a few other angles. Let's check a low angle. Try it. Oh, like put it in the head. Give me a moment. I think that's working. Yeah, let's throw that into the head. So okay, so they've disappeared. So let's just grab Okay, so I'm going to have to set that back to scale of 1. And then do any of these. Okay, let's freeze transforms on all those. Cool, so then let's just grab that, duplicate it. I'm not going to bother instancing anymore, because it wasn't really working for me. Yeah, looks like it's working well enough to me. Maybe we've got too much depth in the iris. That shadow is starting to reduce itself now. That should be fine. Yeah, appears to be working. So, sculpting, I guess. Let's just go into render cam. Cool. I just don't want it looking like he's cross-eyed. Bit better. Cool. So, back into eye sculpting. Let's just rename these. Get rid of that now. What's this for? Oh, that's a background for him. We need to sculpt the tongue probably pretty soon. I really want to do like a draped cloth behind him in the next render, or in the final render even. I like the shadow that gives. Can I make this like partially transparent? I guess I can, but I'll keep a little bit of shadow. Or I could just add a shadow catcher to it. Is there a shadow catcher in Arnold? Shadow Man. So how far behind him would that wall be? I used to live here. I think that's about right, distance-wise. So let's call that back wall geo. And that's completely temporary because the final presentations won't even have the HDR, but it just kind of beds him into the HDR a little bit better. So, what's the next thing to do? We need to get that iris into ZBrush. Do we re-unfold the UVs? I think we should, really, shouldn't we? Because we did make a few changes. So let's just go to UV editor. Let's alt save before we do. Cool, and then just unfold. And luckily it didn't really move. So as long as that topology still matches, we have no issue getting that back into ZBrush. So let's just grab the iris. Got the history deleted in that, so let's file, export selection, modeling, exports, iris. Cool. And let's get into ZBrush. Open file, projects, personal projects, Pierrot grin. Cool. So let's go to the lowest res, import, then what I'm expecting to see is this border shrink in a bit. There you go. So we need to start modeling this now. It's got a bit of a slant to it. Right, so let's get PRF. And then it's opened on the other screen. Load recent. And this is still the ref we're going for. Let's put that there. Cool. This song is a bit shit. Let's change that. This one plays quite often. Let's skip forward a bit. No idea what song gets clicked on. So, BDS. Let's go into brush, modifiers, turn off brush modifier so it doesn't pinch anymore. And let's just get back into sculpting. And actually, let's check our draw settings too. 85, that should be fine. So, we need to deepen up some of these. Lowest subdivision level, and we want to just inflate that slightly. Might need more polygons for this. Yeah, I'm gonna need more polygons for this. 5 million. Not an amount to be taken lightly, that's for sure. I wonder what's happened to display this thing. 'Cause it's doing some weird normal shit. Do I have a surface, like a noise on this? I don't. Is it in display? Is something going weird there? The hell is D-smooth?
You know they're out there, don't you?
I always wonder why this is a thing. Why do I change that? Yeah, it's not doing anything. Weird. There's some bits that should be way deeper. So let's try implementing some of that. There's some like weird skating on the surface. It's really annoying. Do I have this on other materials? I do. There's like a foamy, weird, wiggly thing going on that surface. Right, we need to be braver on those deeper lines. Let's just go to 13. Oh wait, why did I just save that? Okay, let's preferences, undo history, enable saving. For some reason it keeps turning on over and over again. Alright, so we put it in modeling exports by accident. So we'll have to delete that later. In fact, I'll delete it now while I remember. Progression images, modeling, exports. Cool. So let's go a little bit braver on these deeper lines. We need more of them. I need to make sure they don't all just line up with existing lines though. Carve you out. There's like no details out here to play with. So we'll do a quick test with that kind of foamy surface thing it's got going on. So let's save this. And let's try creating a quick brush. Just gonna drag this over to the other screen. So let's try spray with this alpha. And we want there's a way to set a random rotation. It's obviously too strong, but it can get the look. That might be helpful actually for this middle section. Now let's try turning the intensity way down. Maybe not that low. Yeah, not keen on that. Hey Creams, hi there man. Am I destroying too many forms? Hard to tell sometimes. Let's sculpt with the shapes it's given us. Highlight any incidentals. Because if I was to add all that breakup and then just leave it completely alone, it would look awful. Let me just bring this back on screen. But let's check our other references. This one's kind of helpful actually. Good day. Great. Not as much as how your project's going though. Thanks, man. Very nice of you to say that. So what I'm going to do is add some kind of softer, more mellowy areas using the clay brush, and then I'm going to go in with the damp standard and start cutting in some lines again. Because what I'm seeing in this is that there's kind of a low frequency thing going on. I'm also currently working on shading an eye. Oh, nice one. How's it going so far? See, this angle falls apart. Of course, it's so pain, yet they're a fucking nightmare. I still don't understand them really. Let's give this ridge a purpose to be. I'm honestly so tempted to add like actual overhangs and stuff, like model in overhangs, rather than just do these lazy ridges. Kind of regretting that high frequency brush thing that I did, but I'm gonna commit to it because I feel like I'd fall back to comfort zone too much if I don't. I'll slowly sculpt it back out by doing all this stuff anyway, so. I never knew eyes had that much detail. Yeah, eyes are crazy. Like they are, there's so much going on in eyes. Next time you stare into someone's eyes, like you'll start to see that shit now, and it's almost annoying. Blue eyes tend to be a lot more of those strands. Brown eyes tend to be a bit flatter in terms of detail. I'm not sure why that's a thing. Also, don't know what the term for these little strands are, so I'm just gonna call them strands. When I say strands, I mean like this stuff where it's like connecting. Have you seen that render? There's quite a lot of really nice eye renders, so I don't know which one you're talking about. Yeah, I really don't like this foamy thing that I've done it. Let's just smooth it out in some areas. Brush over it a little bit. So now you don't make sense. This needs to pull forward. That way a bit. Otherwise this location doesn't make any sense. Granted, I'm not trying to pretend I understand eyes, because I don't. They're so complex. I think they're muscle fibers. Oh yeah, probably. I just realized I missed a few. Shading is nuts also, they use volumetrics. Yeah, I feel like to get physically correct eyes, like you actually have to do fluid on the inside and that sort of stuff. But hell, this project is the most effort I've ever put into eyes, personally. Like a little snout. In fact, I see a face right now. Eye, nose, big mouth. I'll try to implement that here. Here's a good place to do it, I think. Is it okay to drop a link and change it slightly? Oh yeah, go for it, man. You won't be able to post a full URL. I don't think YouTube streaming allows it. So just put a space between the .com or something, and then people can just copy paste it and remove it. It's easy enough to do. Shame for they've never sculpted eye. I've tried to sculpt eyes a few times, but not for years at this stage. I feel like I've developed artistically quite a lot since I last tried to sculpt an eye. Although that said, there is one thing I was thinking about the other day. It's like, when you look at professional work, like if I was to, 5 years ago look at the work I'm doing now, I'd be like, oh, I had no idea how to do that. And the image I'd have in the head is like, they just whack it out in no time at all. But the thing is, I've spent longer on this eye sculpt than I did on some of my old characters. Like, and I know it's only a couple hours, and that's what I mean. Is like, I used to do like a character in a couple hours and be like, oh, I don't know how the professionals do it. It's like, because I didn't spend long enough. Like, I feel like as you get better as an artist, you kind of, not actually get better, that's the wrong terminology. As, at least in my case, as I've gotten better as an artist, I've realized it's not really skill as much as it's learning how long things should actually fucking take. Because I find that I'm a lot more patient now than I used to be. Like, I remember for quite a long time in uni, I'd literally just, like, the eyes on every character I ever did were the exact same. And that's because I found a tutorial on how to do them in about 15 minutes. And so I just followed that tutorial every fucking time. And it's like, that's not how you develop as an artist, doing that shit. At least in my path through developing as an artist, that's not how I'd learn. When did you discover CG, and you ever thought about using hair to get fiber stuff? Okay, so I'll answer the second question first, because that's a quicker answer. So in terms of using hair, it's a cool technique. It's not something I'd personally do, at least for this type of eye, because this to me, like, fuck doing that with hair is pointless. Most of it's a surface. With more fibrous eyes, yeah, maybe. It's a technique I've seen quite a lot. I've been seeing it for a couple of years. I think the first time I saw it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, that's really fucking cool. But it's not something I don't think I'd personally do. Maybe if I ever jump to Houdini, because you can then mesh the eye, like mesh that hair, and quite easily. You can do it in Maya too, but it's a lot easier in Houdini. But yeah, like it's something I've looked into, but always decided it's just not really how I want to work. This is a really weird patch. Let's smooth that out. And I feel like I get sick of my project too quickly. Yeah, it comes with experience, don't worry. You do get better over time, or at least most artists get better over time at actually sticking to a project. For me, streaming helped a lot. Anyway, when did you discover CG? I started doing CG in 2012. I started doing it full time, doing education and that sort of stuff back in 2012, about September. Which means I'm almost at 10 years of doing this for a couple hours a day. But in terms of when did I discover it? So my first couple animations were actually like 2008. Around the time, so I was 13 at the time when I did my first animation, 3D animation. I didn't really ever do 2D stuff other than a couple of little things in school and one passion project. But in 2008, Grand Theft Auto 4 was coming out, and obviously being a teenage boy, I was like hyped for that shit. But one of the things I was really hyped for was the ragdoll physics. They did a lot of publicity about how realistic the ragdolls are, because they implemented the Euphoria system. And the Euphoria system is just automated animation based on a bunch of commands. So you get hit in a certain spot, you grab that spot, and blah blah blah. So Euphoria has a free version called Endorphin. So I downloaded that and did some animations with it back in 2008. There was a YouTube series called Crack and Splat, which I remember thinking was really, really cool. I watch it now and it's like, it's aged, but Endorphin, I did a couple animations in that back in 2008. I think I struggled to place it, but there was a point in which I tried Blender back in, it was either 08 or 07 maybe. Ended up not liking it, but I modelled a bathroom and did some cloth simulation for a curtain, which I thought was the coolest shit. But then just never really took to it. And then didn't do CG again for, until 2012, so 5 years. and then ended up doing CG at a college course and stuck to it, which is, that's the path that led me to here eventually. It's actually quite easy to do. I've done something similar for veins. It could be easily adjusted for us. Oh yeah, the sort of grooming eyes, I'm assuming is what you're talking about. It is relatively easy to do. It's more just a case of the results it gives, I find, are often too veiny. When someone's done an eye with with groom, you can normally see it like a mile away. I think I've seen one instance where someone did an eye with a hair system and it wasn't immediately obvious. Blender 2.7 was insufferable. I can't remember which Blender version I used. It was earlier than that, I feel. Because it was around 07, 08. Which is what, 15 years ago? 14 years ago? Yeah, 14 to 13 years ago. Is when I used those. Getting close to a decade now. Awesome. Is it awesome? Yeah, I mean, I've been doing, again, full time since 2012, September. Although I say full time, 5 of those years were in education. So I spent 2 years at a college course called Tameside Animation Game Design. I still actually have a relationship with that tutor. He's a really cool guy called Andrew King. He's currently leading a university course now in Manchester. He's really, really good teacher. He's definitely changed my life like a lot. Definitely one of the most important people in my life, like the path. Hopefully work with him again at some point. But yeah, so I did a 2-year course with him in which I kind of did Maya and a little bit of mostly animation, a little bit of modeling, tiny little bit of scripting, like literally one Unity scripting segment, which I think was in C#. But I was shit at that. Like, I never really took to scripting. I got a bit better in uni, but I was carried through uni scripting a lot by a couple people. Like, I had a 2-year head start in uni, so when I went in, I was one of the only ones who really knew how to model and everything before that. So I kind of ended up really benefiting from that in the programming assignment, because I just, people would help me out in return for me. In return, I'll help them with a later modeling project. So I ended up, I got through other people's help. I wouldn't have made it through uni without the help I got. I would have failed, absolutely. Put some holes in the eye. Let's have this reach really far in, like all the way out here. What would you say is your favorite thing to work on? Can you be a little bit more specific? Like, do you mean in terms of the projects I did, like professionally, or do you mean in terms of pipeline, like what type of work I like to do the most, like regardless of what show it was? Or was uni worth it? Yep, absolutely. It's completely overpriced, but because of the way student finance works in the UK, I'll never actually pay off my student finance. It'll be one of those where I treat it like an extra tax. I think I pay like 200 odd a month for my student finances at this point. It's not cheap stuff, but it's also, without it, arguably wouldn't have made it into the industry. Because it's the connections that it gets you more than anything. And the learning opportunities, like obviously you can learn CG without university, and really in uni I didn't really learn much directly from the uni itself. Most of what I know is from YouTube tutorials and just pissing about with it myself. I wasn't afraid of breaking stuff basically when I was learning early stages. But let's change my stroke direction actually. Yeah, uni I'd say is worth it. It's not perfect. It's really not perfect, but it's a lot better than not going to uni, I think. In terms of personal projects, what aspects of the pipeline? Modeling and Groom are my two favorite areas to dig into, which is funny because I'm a look dev artist, but I've always had a soft spot for modeling. Modeling is ultimately, I think, what I won't say it's what I excel at, because I'm not as good as some of the modelers you get out there, but I feel like modeling is something I could get quite good at if I spent the time. I feel like there's some understanding I have of modeling, but yeah, I'm definitely not good enough to reach the levels of some of the monsters that you see in this industry. Like, there's some people are just terrifying, to be honest. But yeah, Groom, just because I've spent the most time doing that. Isn't there a contrast brush now? Wait, what would a crumple brush do with this? Crumple brushes like destroy a topology, but I'd say the crumple brush is probably a bit too aggressive, to be honest. I really wish, I really hope that Pixelogic fix that at some point. What was the contrast brush, or was it detail brush or something? Curve pinch. Contrast target, contrast delta. So let me just save this. Such a cool brush. I feel like I need to do it at a lower resolution though. Oh, let's go forward a couple. There we go. So let's go to a much lower. Just deepen up all this shit. That's a bit better. I've still got my reference open, it's just on the other screen. I'm not going to spend too much longer on this, I think. Oh, wrong brush. I'm falling in love with the project, hopefully not also your voice. That'd be really unfortunate if you fell in love with my voice. I mean, if you really want, I can get closer to the microphone and get the proximity effect going.
But I think that's a bit uncomfortable for everyone, to be honest.
A bit too ASMR-y. Well, that wasn't too loud, I didn't check the levels. So let's this area is a bit too flat, that area is a bit too flat. Why does it keep zooming? For the face color, you're going to paint normal skin albedo or painted white one? I'm going to do the quote-unquote physically correct way. I'm going to do regular skin, and then below that regular skin will be too much voice. But yeah, so in terms of the albedo, or I don't think I'll be using albedo, I'll be doing diffuse. But in terms of the skin color, I'll be painting him like as if he's got no skin on. No skin, Jesus. I'll be painting it as if he's got no paint on his skin. And then on top of that, I'll add a second material, which is a blend material. And that material can have the paint, and I'll just paint a blend for that. That will give me a lot more control and shading. It'll make the render times a fair bit slower, I think, but... I'm just trying to now get a little bit more variety in my sculpt, and the way I'm trying to do that is by removing some of these kind of brushstrokey artifacts that I'm getting. So if I can like smooth out the mesh in some areas, it gets a little bit more interesting to look at. So let's just smooth that out. And I'm trying to avoid just using the smooth brush to do it, because I feel like the clay brush softens it in a really nice way. Down here's the next bit. So what I'm wondering now, I get so confused sometimes. What I'm wondering now is, do I do a basic color? I feel like I should. So let's do some painting. And fuck it, I'm gonna keep that scratchy. So let's just make another part of the sculpt visible. Okay, so I do have the color backed up, good. Potentially use elastic for these forms, turn down the Z intensity and go to town. Soft alpha works well, elastic. Elastic. Oh. I'm unsure what elastic is doing. Is there a specific way to use the brush? I'm gonna undo that. I think I prefer the control that I have with clay buildup. Granted, the control that I have with clay buildup is because I understand the brush. It's not because Elastic is worse. Let's just do it super quick. Softening. Oh, Jesus. My pen pressure gone again? Tools without affecting details. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, my pen pressure's gone again. Why does it keep doing that? I did this yesterday as well. Let's do some basic texture painting. So let's quickly check our main ref, which is this guy. So that's the color we're targeting. Naturally, the lighting will have an effect on that, but I'm gonna ballpark that. A little bit more orange. So that's our base color. So let's go. I feel like, is this dish thing on the side a bit too steep? It could be. I feel like I accidentally destroyed the forms a bit too much earlier when I went in with a contrast brush. How long ago was that? Let's go all the way back to the beginning. That's what we had at the start. And then, so let's just put that there. And then here's our newest. Still going. So it feels higher definition, but it doesn't feel better. I feel like I need to inflate a couple areas. So let's just quickly go in. I feel like some of these have gotten too thin, that's what the issue is for me. That feels better. Cool. So, standard brush. We want to go. Does that need to be a little bit more red? Not that red. I think that color-wise might be okay. So let's go color, fill object, and then let's just make a brighter one. And just tone this slightly. What should be brighter? Should it be the inside or outside? Let's check a few references. So obviously it's mostly the same color, but I feel like the outside should be generally brighter. That's what I'm going to go with. So let's get that. And I'm just going to add a little bit more color to the outside. I'm going to do it with an oversized brush. Normally I do this in a different software, like Mari, but I'm going to give this a go. Let's just make that slightly more yellow. A bit too yellow. Oh, I should be going in with colour spray. Colour spray just adds like random hues, nothing too major. If we go into flat color, this is the actual eye texture we're painting. So we need to do something to give this a little bit more personality than that. So let's go in and mask. So masking by cavity is something I actually do when it comes to textures rather than sculpting. Although masking by AO might be a better. While that loads, let's check. Cool, so let's just darken these way up. And then all I'm going to do is just check. Come on. There we go, something a little bit nicer. And I'm just going to go in and smooth some areas. It's a bit too high frequency at the moment. And when I'm smoothing, I've turned off Z add, and that just means that it only smooths the color. There we go, hand painted eye. Should we add some dots? Let's just turn off this and that. Go for the brightest color. so let's just super quickly go in with damn standard and add a little bit more breakup to some of these shapes. Let's just go back to the live stream tab. There we go. I was looking for the most open areas. I think that's fine. We obviously could keep going down to more granular levels, but honestly, I don't think it's really worth it. We can always return to it later. So what we want to do now is export the lowest res model with color and with displacement. So Z plugin, let's just go export that, and we want to put that over modeling, export iris. Cool. And then we want to also take Z plugin, multimap exporter. I'm just going to take displacement from now. ZBrush exports ZDisp, and let's do that as the name. Although I do need to modeling ZBrush exports ZDisp. Delete that. And then export that, because it has a really hard time saving other stuff. Cool, and then we can regenerate the text file. Don't know why it's adding the resolution to the name of this guy. But yeah, and we'll just delete the text file. Although it might not let us do it. Yeah, okay. So we'll have to regenerate that with the text manager. And next thing to do is to export the color. Z plugin, texture from polypaint, and create our maps, exports. Let's just call this diffuse. Cool. I'm just going to save the scene. I'm going to start getting that into the actual scene. So, hide you, go to you. What I'm going to need to do is just file, import. Let's just grab that modeling ZBrush exports. No, it's in modeling exports. Cool, so that's changed slightly. So all we want to do now is deform U to U. Source target. Okay, and then we just want to go deform, blend shape. There we go. Cool, so now we just need to do the same for the other two. So let's go source target, deform, blend shape. Cool. And then last one, source target, deform, blend shape. My reason for doing that is just so I don't have to duplicate it around again. Cool. And then let's just get the iris color on there. File. Modeling, ZBrush, exports, diffuse. I'll probably move these later. We don't need to set that to UDIM. We want to set this to utility sRGB texture. Cool. And plug you into base color and into subsurface color. Cool. And then we want to go into the text manager. Utilities, text manager, displacement map. Yep. Okay. So we want to. How do we refresh this? Why are you so low? They're very orange. So let's kill that and switch to our perspective. And let's just hide. So it should probably change the base color. Change the base color of the sclera just as a proxy. So let's quickly do that. Okay, let's create a ramp as a temporary. Delete that. Put that to base color and plug it into subsurface color too. And naturally we don't want pure white, we want a very slight saturation. This is struggling. kind of want to add a thin film to the cornea. Is this actually rendering? Okay, so that's a little bit too saturated. Too much towards red, so let's set that to, can't remember how sensitive this is, let's try 30. No, 30. That feels a bit better to me. I want to try something. Let's just get a region and let that clean for a moment. I'm getting a reflection that's lining up really uncomfortably well with this. Okay, so let's give that a go. View, still a snapshot. Okay, and I just want to have a go at plugging this into specular color. I could even try metalness, but let's give that a go. I'll set IOR to like metal. This makes it glow. I feel like something else I need to do as well is let's grab that cornea. I need a little bit of noise in this cornea ramp. 0.1's massive, right? Yeah, 0.1 is huge. O2. Might be a bit too chaotic. Yeah, it's way too chaotic. 0.2 again. Just so it's not perfectly straight. Blend might still be a bit too soft as well. So let's try... which one is it that has to move? They have to come together, right? This iris is too small compared to the rest of the eye. Oh, wait, why am I doing it like this when I could do that? That's too large, right? How big is an iris compared to an eye? Iris scale. I really need to hide this cornea and fluid for a moment. I am getting reflections. Where the fuck are they coming from? That's weird. Why are you going to white? Is the radius being too large? Let's try random walk v1. No, you're even worse. How can I prevent that? I think that's good enough. I'll have to figure out what this is coming from, but I do need to head off. Oh, that's too large. That's way too large. Let's get that cornea. Gets like a better size. Let's remove more from that side. How big is that? Yeah, that's too much. I need to change the size of the sclera. I don't think I can just pull the iris forward on this. Let's give it a go. Nah, I won't get away with that. So I'll have to adjust the UVs on that, I think. So let's adjust the UVs on that. Yeah, it's too deep. Can I go even further back, maybe? Yeah, it's too soft. I need to check my all-knowing ref. Let's just grab both of these. Show selection highlighting. Cool, so I'm gonna get that in render cam. So I can do our end of stream render. But yeah, so that's gonna be it for this stream. I'll stream again probably soon. I mean, I'm on 5 days in a row now. That will end at some point. I could end up streaming tomorrow, who knows, but it's not going to be constantly every day. So yeah, whenever the next stream is, I'll do a little bit of work on the actual sculpt, I think. Push the sculpt a little bit cleaner. I'm not going to worry about asymmetry quite yet. I do need to start doing a costume pretty soon, because the costume's a pretty large aspect of this character. But we have eyes, so we're making progress. I just need to start texturing and spelling. Still need to add the carunculus and the waterline around the eyes as well. So it's nowhere near done, but it will get there. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed it or learned something. And I'll see you in the next stream, guys. Bye.